Waifus are important, right? Without them, we don't necessarily have a lot of content that we are attracted to nowadays, honestly. And don't get me wrong, when it comes down to a lot of it, yes, we are appealing to these characters because, obviously we might relate to them and we might have something that, we want to see in a actual person maybe, or maybe we just want to relate to this character in a way where it fits us and us only. And that's perfectly fine, right? Don't get me wrong, there's definitely ways that companies will exploit that, opportunity to use waifu characters to make you, pull for a character within a game or watch more anime and buy merch of that anime or whatever, to support your favorite character at the end of the day. At the end of the day, when it comes to these companies, they want you to like their shit so you can, pay for stuff when it comes down to things. At the end of the day, anime is still a business. But I will give credit to it because at least it's not like a soulless ass machine like corporate America is with their damn fictional content. Like, I not mean things of what is happening now instead of like back then. Granted, back then was the same kind of way, but it wasn't as bad as it is now because now everybody's like seeking for agendas and things of the sort, and it's just really trashy, honestly. And this is why people go over to the other side of the fence of anime and things like that, maybe watching characters speak a whole nother language would change the viewpoint of, fictional characters maybe not necessarily being always about agendas and things like that. And that's why you got a lot of things that is inspired by it as well. But when it comes down to things, waifus are hella important, honestly. If it wasn't for certain waifus, I wouldn't be interested in certain things, honestly. Like Persona. If it wasn't for Rise Kujikawa, I would damn near say I don't think Persona would have grabbed me as hard as it did, right? Now, for the real ones I have to keep in mind of the damn lore of me, when it comes down to things, you wouldn't know that Persona 4 Arena was my first game into the Persona franchise. Didn't know shit about what was going on. And when everybody was talking and playable, when it comes down to things, Rise was not playable in this game. The only thing that you see of Rise was she's cheering you on in fights, and she's a part of the story with these small little moments, and that's essentially about it. But when I saw Rise the first time, I'm not gonna hold you, I was about that life. I was about, damn, who is this character? I want to know more. And yeah, I'll keep it a stack. If it wasn't for High School DxD, if I didn't know that show existed, Rise would have damn near probably been the waifu for me. I ain't gonna necessarily hold you.
Trick or treat!
Trick or treat.
Oh, do you not have any candy, mister?
Damn it, that was fast.
Well, could you perhaps treat me with something else, then?
Please ignore her. We'll be on our way.
So yeah, that's just kind of how it is though, when it comes down to things, because I feel like Rise, personally to me, is the best waifu character in Persona as a whole. I'm just gonna keep it a stack. But as I said before, it wouldn't be too crazy to say that, oh, without Rise, I wouldn't have gone to Persona. Like, literally, I probably wouldn't have. But because she was there for that small amount of time, and a little bit of Labrys right there, I guess you could add that too. I ended up liking Persona as a whole and wanted to kind of at least see what else Persona had to offer. Because 5 was not it at the beginning until I played it. And then I'm like, okay, 5 is cool, so Persona is cool now. So that's that, right? And then obviously you have moments in anime where you have, people like Konako where you just see them the first time and I'm like, holy shit. Or even back at more games like Juri Han made me realize I like crazy women in anime or fictional content. And then obviously you have Ling Xiaoyu, who makes me realize I like Asian women for real. And it made me go crazy off of that. So point is, there's a lot of characters that make you realize certain things, awaken things in you, and honestly, it's kind of fun, honestly, just exploring to see what kind of waifus is out there, maybe pull you into a story, or maybe make you want to just buy merch that character. It's exploitation, definitely, it's a lot of it in play there, but definitely there's a lot of it where it's just like, yeah, but I choose to do so because I have a free thinking brain. So of course I want to, buy merch of Konako. Of course I want a damn poster of Konako in some damn way. Of course in the future I would like to have a damn statue and a body pillow of that girl. Why wouldn't I? Like, it's crazy, honestly. Hell, if it wasn't for watching Kaede's death in V3, I wouldn't have gotten into Danganronpa, honestly. If I didn't get that appealness to Kaede, who was only there for one damn chapter, I would have liked, probably got into Danganronpa, honestly. Unless maybe if I saw Shiaki at some point in the same exact way, maybe then that would pull me in. But you know, it was Kaede, and that's why I kind of like Kaede a little bit more, right? So when it comes down to things, there is definitely some things that can pull you into it when it comes to these waifu characters. And for a lot of the time, for me personally, is the cuteness factor, or it could be, you know, the fact that they just are relatable. And it's just basically the same thing. So what will pull you in for a specific reason to watch an anime or play a certain game, right? There can be stupid reasons like Genshin, because of Amber's ass, but that's about it. But when it comes down to things, you know, also the fact that game was free, so that was also another reason why. But still, when it comes down to things, there can be stupid reasons, but there's reasons nonetheless, right? In fact, I was just watching a video about Lextorius, I believe, who was also talking about the importance of waifus in anime and things of the sort, and why we often, you know, attach ourselves to those characters and things and stuff like that. And I have to agree with a lot of the stuff that he has said. I have to agree with a lot of that stuff in the video, honestly, and learned some damn things when it comes down to it, honestly. Because, yeah, empathy makes sense. That's probably the reason why we are attached to things. Even the most introverted introvert probably likes a character out there and can be empathetic to, you know, said character, meaning that there is more to them just being insiders all freaking day, honestly. Which I ain't trying to get on y'all introverts. Y'all fine with me. Just, you know, look at the sun for a few seconds. Obviously don't do that directly, but, you know, just go outside basically, right? I feel like touch grass is a little overrated at this point. But when it comes down to things, you know, I agree with a lot of things that he said in the video. He even went as far as to talk about lollies, obviously, and obviously that's a big section for us because, you know, we talked about it quite a bit. And for the most part, it was decent. There is parts of it where I do have to talk about just a little bit, which I was gonna say for a different video, but we can talk about it here now. One of the parts where he was talking about Aki Uchiyama, who we actually had teased in a community post a while back with like concept art of a character, honestly, if you paid attention to community posts. And I was going to talk about Aki Uchiyama, but he basically laid out the history pretty much as you would know. There is some things that he doesn't go into detail for, which, granted, you know how people are when it comes to talking about lolly, they don't want to go that far. But when it comes to it, he didn't necessarily talk about the interview that Aki Uchiyama had with someone that was also trying to talk to him, which I do feel like that's important to, you know, read up on, and maybe I'll try to link it if I remember in the description or so. And when it comes down to things, he also brought up the fact about the first anime, the first Gentai, you know, the Lolita anime, which had his name on it, but that's it. It only had his name. He didn't say that, you know, what it was really, you know, what it really went down with Aki in that anime. The thing is, when you read the interview, you will find out that, oh, he just lit his name to it. He didn't work on it at all. He just had his name to it because it sold, you know, this damn anime as a whole. So, yeah, he didn't make any character. He didn't get involved with the production. He hasn't even watched Lolita anime to this day. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy to kind of think about, that Aki Uchiyama, the man that has, you know, did a lot of crazy stuff. The Diaper King, I believe that's also like a name for him too, has not necessarily watched his own thing that he lent his name to, which is kind of crazy. And he did go in the route of just saying basically of that, when it comes down to that video, he was just basically saying that like, oh, well, most majority of, you know, lolly characters he doesn't have a problem with, but when you take him into a certain way where they already are innocent, naive, and all that type of stuff, that's where the problem comes in, and that's why it gives anime a bad name. And I have a slight issue with that, right? Now, if that's what you believe, then fine, it is what it is. But it's not that damn simple. Let's keep it a stack. The real reason why I have somewhat of an issue is not because of his take. It's mainly because that there is extremist ass people that is out there that will most definitely go after you because you like it. And at the end of the day, there is literally no one that's out there that's saying, oh, you shouldn't do that otherwise. And that is the issue I have when it comes to it. Because, yeah, you can't necessarily just say, oh, people like waifu characters. It's perfectly normal and fine to like waifu characters. But then you have lollies who are equally waifu characters on that side of the spectrum, but you can't say you like them in that sort of way too, right? For some reason. That's hypocritical in my personal opinion, right? I don't necessarily agree with that, because you can't necessarily say one side is good and the other side is bad. As they said, lolly is, very important, and as I said before, is, important to anime as a whole, anime history. I didn't even know that from a slightly lolly anime, that's where the word waifu came from, essentially, or at least the earliest recorded, signs of it. Or when Square Enix was also involved in it at some point too, which is crazy. That explains why Kyrie KH1 looks kind of good, I ain't gonna hold you. But when it comes down to things, it's like you can't necessarily say this side of the spectrum is fine, but this side it isn't. Like, this is the shit I'm talking about. You can't just separate one thing and then say, oh, this is part of that very same thing, but we can't necessarily separate two. And what's crazy to me too is that they went that far to do the research for Hideo Azuma and Aki Uchiyama, but at the very end of everything, they didn't necessarily go in the routes of, talking about the doujin of what those people made. Because yes, while their doujin works in how they probably view lolly is a lot different now than what it was back then, they started that shit. Like, hell, Aki Uchiyama made a whole doujin, and we talked about this before, where a damn lolly turned into a water spirit, got shot by Yakuza in the vagina. Like, hello? And then also, Hideo Azuma is not so damn innocent either, because he done a lot of other stuff as well. So, again, you can't just have that part of history, ignore that shit, and then, say this part is bad, because it's all bad. If I'm gonna keep it a stack with you, it is all kind of bad, morally standpointing wise. But at the end of it, somebody is gonna like a lolly character, and it's gonna be out there, right? If you're gonna like a waifu character, somebody's gonna like a lolly character in that sort of way as well. It is what it is. The only time when it's a issue is when you take the fiction and transfer that shit into reality, and then you start going into reality thinking that, oh, so if I can like a fictional character that's a lolly, I can do that in reality. No, you cannot. We will stress that to hell and high water, that you cannot necessarily like a actual person like that. That's wrong. It's obviously wrong. You can't do that. You'll go to jail, honestly. When it comes down to things, you can't necessarily do things like that. You shouldn't do things like that. In fact, if you find someone doing some shit like that, report their ass immediately, right? This is why so many damn YouTubers get in trouble. Y'all don't know how to not interact with these types of people. Leave them the hell alone, block them, remove them from your space, all that type of stuff. You don't need to interact with these hoes. You don't. At the end of the day, you want fiction? Fine. Look at Kaneko spread her vagina over there. It looks beautiful as shit. I'm diving in. But any other scenario where it's real, no one wants that shit. No one needs that shit, honestly. Hell, I believe back in the day in Japan, and I said this before in history, I think I remember this, but Lemon People back then, that damn magazine, actually had real content in there. Guess what? Outside of government officials, the people that was reading and buying this shit, they didn't want that shit in there. They just said chunk that shit out. And they eventually did, right? So at the end of the day, not even true anime fans want the real shit. If we're gonna like some lolly shit, we're gonna like it just because it's fiction. That's it. So at the end of all things, like I said, I don't have that much of a, I guess like a hatred towards the opinion of that creator in specifically, but I did want to point that out because I feel like that's just really annoying that you're saying it's fine over here, fan service is cool over here, lolly characters are okay in this sort of way, but not in that way where people are going to like that type of shit, right? And yes, like I said before, there is definitely some wild ass doujins out there that people make now, but there was some wild ass doujins in the past too, even if it was comedic. Hell, there's some stuff that's not comedic at all. If there's some stuff that Hideo Azuma and Aki Uchiyama made that isn't necessarily comedic at all, and it's not translated or anything, but I can tell you, oh wow, that lolly character is getting railed right there, right? And there's different variations of these characters within those doujins, right? Yes, you might have a nice, sexy, older-ish kind of character, but you also have the lolly characters that is not shy about getting clapped their cheeks, honestly, right? So at the end of the day, you cannot have a cake and eat that hoe too. It's across the board. Either all of it is bad or all of it is fine, right? It is what it is. You don't have to like it. We said this 1,000 times. You don't have to like it. People will like it. The biggest issue I have with this entire thing is just when people say they don't like it, they go to the absolute extreme and then want to go ahead and just basically hunt you down, try to dox you or anything like that. And it's the worst shit in the world. Trust me, I know. It's horrible. Online forums just basically existing just for this sole reason of just wanting to hurt people because of a effing fictional character in opinion, bro. It is wild. 4chan, Soyjack, one of those damn websites, honestly. So when it comes down to damn things, it is not that deep. You don't like it? Fine. Move the hell on. You like it? Whatever. And at the end of the day, guess what? Majority of lolicons have other characters that they like that isn't lolly, like Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo. I like the shit out of her, but no one pays attention to that shit though. Or potentially you have someone like Midnight from MHA. I want to bang that. Oh, but we don't talk about that though. So you get the point. But point is, when it comes down to waifus and laws as a whole, everything should be fine as a whole where you want to go with it. And hell, even if that's not Aki Uchiyama and Hideo Azuma's intention, guess what? You made the shit. So it is now. Of course there was going to be some shit like this. You kind of put that in the atmosphere, so it is what it is at this point. But point is, if you have a lolly character, my point is this: waifu characters are meant to be liked. They want you to like them characters that they've made. You know, people have those characters that they want to create themselves, that they want to get over in some shape or form, and it's a fun time, right? Hell, I bet you dressed up as your favorite waifu and on Halloween, obviously, or your favorite husbando on Halloween, or whatever. Bet you had a nice ass time. But when it comes down to things, at the end of the day, when we look at this as a whole, yes, people are going to be attracted to waifu characters, no matter who they are. The only time where it's an issue is when you take those fictional traits, whether these unrealistic things, out into reality, and then you act upon those. Hell, you can talk about it even in a fantasy. If you tell myself, damn, this girl fine, I would like to chain her up and put her in a damn dungeon or some shit and just use her all day. Fine. You talk about it, fine. But if you talk about actually going out and doing that shit and committing to that act, then we have an actual issue. Even then, that I would say that's a slight concern, or maybe there's a, maybe you might need to watch that a little bit. But still, nonetheless, obviously, acting upon it, it's way worse than, just watching it, or just making like a fan fiction of it, or whatever the hell, right? There's definitely a difference between saying or looking at something like that. There is definitely a difference between saying one thing versus acting upon one thing, right? There's a very clear difference, right? So at the end of the day, when it comes down to things, and even that is not necessarily the most foolproof thing, because someone can just talk about it and that can get them in trouble in some shape or form. But you obviously know what to do. I expect some people to have common sense regarding some characters, and obviously regarding what's real and what's not, because majority of the internet don't have a brain, so of course they are going to be kind of crazy. But when it comes down to things, yeah, like I said, I don't have an issue with a lot of the stuff that he said. Again, I learned a lot of stuff, but I just wanted to basically clear that up because I just feel like that was a bit wild, right? That there was some information there, and it's never the parts where, somebody can come through and talk about this issue where, oh, you have lolly characters, they're fine, whatever, you have your opinion. Again, the biggest issue that I will always have is just that people come through, try to start nonsense with you, go after you for whatever effing reason, and it's something that you shouldn't have to do for somebody, right? It shouldn't be the case. Just let people like shit. You don't like shit, fine, ignore, block. You have all these options. Why are you wasting time, money, and resources to go after one dude just because of a damn opinion or what they like? It is what it is. So yeah, that's essentially all I really have for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your apps. Also follow me on the socials. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, Patreon is available as well. And until then, it's your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.